Hi everybody, my name's Eva and I am hosting this call today. Our guest is Jordan Wright, who is the founder and director of Little League Sports. And just a quick thing before we start, if anybody has any questions or wants to get in touch with Jordan for any advice or anything, you can email info@thrive-cic.co.uk, and that website link is always in our YouTube bio too if you can't find it. So without further ado, Jordan, you can go ahead.
Thanks very much, Eva, and it's great to be speaking to everyone at Thrive today. So I've been invited on, and I just wanted to sort of share a little bit about my journey. Really, it's very sort of I listen to these types of talks all the time, and then when people ask me to do them, I think to myself, oh, I don't mind sharing my journey, but you don't really get that much time to think about your journey because you're always constantly working. So for the first time in a long time, I sort of sat back the last few days when I was doing a bit of prep for it, and I sort of remembered some of the key parts of the journey, and it's been fun. It's been great, and I'll sort of tell a little bit about the work that I do alongside, a large team of staff that we have here over at LLS. So we're coming up to sort of 13 years old now, the organisation. So myself and my best friend at school, Joe, we were in school together. A little bit about us was that we're from South Liverpool. We were very sporty. So we were in school. We used to always sort of enjoy being in and around all the different sports teams: football, rugby, swimming, tennis. We'd have a go at anything. We went to Gattaca School. It was a great school for us. We had a really good time there, and we did well qualifications wise. But then at the same time, we were quite business minded. We had a form teacher. We shared a form teacher who was actually a business studies teacher. So our classroom was always sort of surrounded by sort of, business studies posters and marketing and all these different things that you finance and all these different buzzwords that you hear about in business. And we were keen. We said, when the right time comes, we'll start our own business when we're older type thing, but not forgetting that we were very, very sporty. So in our own spare time, when we were in sixth form, we did lots of volunteering, working with sort of schools and working with local teams and just really getting into sort of coaching, if you like, and it really sort of complemented what we did in terms of being in school, having lots of friends and speaking to anyone. So we came through sixth form and then we went on to university. From my point of view, I loved like people and working with people, and I was thinking, I want to do a degree that sort of encompasses everything in education. So that could be sort of, do a train to be a teacher, do we go down the social work route? I like the sort of childhood and youth studies elements of things and the early years. I wanted to sort of do a degree that would encompass people and working with people every single day. So I joined, after sixth form, I joined Liverpool Hope University, and I did a childhood, youth and education degree, which basically allowed me to work with every group of young people from sort of toddlers right the way through to pensioners, really. And while I was on that degree, I loved it. I thought it was great, really. I loved working with people. I did tons and tons of placements in all different sorts of environments. And the good thing when you're in uni is you get lots of time off during the summer. So you finish sort of like the end of May. You've got like June, July, August, and you don't come back to like the middle of September. So when I was in university, I sort of I signed up to go and do a bit of coaching in America. So I'm sort of, how old am I at this point? It was in between second and third year, so I'm about 20, in between 20, 21. And I signed up to go to spend 3 months in New York, New York State. So I flew into New York City, and I went up to this sort of multi-sports camp in New York State. And I sort of didn't know anyone, went across there, and for the first 2 weeks on the site, you're sort of meeting all the other coaches who've come from all over the world. So you're meeting people from everywhere. I was the only person there from Liverpool. So everyone was coming up to me and speaking to me. And I'm a Liverpool fan as well, so they were asking me who my favourite players were and all the rest of it. And I ended up working in New York for sort of 3 months. And at home, Joe was studying, he was my best mate, he was studying a business degree. And while I was over there, I was in touch with him and I was coaching every day and whatever. And he said, you know, we could start our own sort of coaching organisation when you get back, because you've been there every single day and he'd been coaching at home. And we just love working with people, really. So we had a bit of an idea, and in the evenings when I'd finished coaching in New York, we'd be speaking about it and speaking about the opportunity to start our own organisation when we got back, and we did. So I came home after 3 months in New York, and we started our own company, which started as sort of little league sports, because we were working with children at the time, sort of 4 to 14-year-olds, and that was how we started, just sort of coaching youngsters and, you know, coaching on Saturday mornings and during sort of, you know, holiday periods and things. But the main aim, what we wanted to achieve, was to start our own sixth form program. We wanted it to be unique. We wanted it to be a program like no other. We wanted young people to come on our programs and have a multi-sports experience, study, you know, BTEC level 3 qualifications that would get them onto university. But most importantly, we wanted those young people to be unique, and we wanted those young people to sort of gain fantastic qualifications to go on and really succeed and go and get an apprenticeship at the end of it, or maybe gain employment straight away, or go on to university. The destinations were the biggest part of what we wanted to focus on as LLS, as it became known, because we'd started working with the primary school children. They loved the word little league and little league sports, but our teenagers probably didn't want to go have like a cartoony logo and be called Little League, as it was more LLS, and the brand became sort of LLS rather than sort of Little League. So we set about going to our old school, Gattaca, and we went there and we said to them, right, we've got an opportunity for students to stay on in school and do a sports industry program. We want to create the next generation of sports industry professionals. So young people that want to get jobs in sport, whether that's coaching, whether that's going down the sports science route, whether that's sports psychology, physiotherapy, all these different amazing sports industry jobs that there are out there, whether they want to go down this, a PE teacher route. You know, lots of young people have got a role model PE teacher that they had when they were younger, and they want to be a PE teacher. So we wanted to have a sports program in sixth form that would get them young people into jobs in the sports industry. So we started it in our old school, which was amazing. It was a pilot program. The school said, why not, let's start it as a pilot, and we had 12 students on the program. This is going back now probably about 10 years ago. We've been going 13 years, so the first 3 years was working in primaries, but then we developed into what we do now, which is the sixth form program. And those sort of 12 students had an amazing time, and they came through, got qualified, and lots of them were still unbelievably in touch with to this day. And the program just got better and better and stronger, and we were able to take it then to sort of different parts of sort of the region, and then different parts of the country, and then we took it sort of international. So to give you an idea, we started in sort of South Liverpool, where we went to school ourselves, and then we've just developed the program, developed everything about it. So the young people will come in and do their qualifications with us, and then what they'll do, they'll sort of they'll do lots of work placements. So they'll go to their old primary school and do lots of work experience. They'll be positive role models in their communities, and they'll do probably up to 1,000 hours voluntary experience on their sixth form program, and then we'll help push them into different jobs and different roles. We think that those work experience placements, just like they were for us when we were younger, are amazing to learn and to really hone your skills. So as you can see on the map here now, we've sort of developed the programs, and we went from sort of Liverpool over to the Wirral. Then we went into sort of North Wales. Soon we were asked to go over to Northern Ireland. So we're working in some huge cities: Liverpool, Leeds, Manchester, Belfast, Derry, Londonderry, Northern Ireland. We then went over to the Middle East. There's a big program of activity sports-wise in Qatar. We've been working in Qatar for the last 5 years. It's actually where the next World Cup's going to be. So we sort of developed this idea by being volunteers in sixth form. We were brave enough to sort of invest our student loan into starting the organisation, and then built a brand which is now working right across all these different destinations across the sort of the UK and Ireland and the Middle East. For this September coming, we've just launched 2 programs in Spain, one in Alicante and one in Tenerife. So we've got young people over in Spain now who are coming on the LLS program because they want to train to be the next generation of sports industry professionals. These are young people that just want to do something different in sixth form. They're unbelievably passionate about sport, and they know that their route to university can be a slightly different one. They haven't got to do traditional A levels. They can do a BTEC level 3 extended diploma with ourselves, gain an amazing work experience, and then get their destination wherever it is that they want to go. So we have like a bit of a mission at LLS, and as we've developed, our mission is to, you know, as it says on the screen, we want to sort of deliver outstanding programs which give young people a platform to secure those careers in the sports industry. We're sending young people at 18 to university with 1,000 hours work experience. And some students aren't even coming out of university with that work experience under the belt. So it's stuff that we've learned on our own journey that we're passing on now to our young people. And we've made sure that on our journey, we've developed into the UK's leading provider really in post-16 sport. So sort of rewinding that back, if you like, to when we were younger, you know, in school, we loved school, and school was great, and PE was great. We had a really good PE department at school, but we weren't really learning anything about the industry. We were just doing like the classroom work. So our idea was to sort of like, yeah, we can do all the classroom stuff, which is brilliant, and we can make sure that people are getting the qualifications, but we want to put people into these work experience environments. We want them to develop, and we want them to really get as many sort of hours as they can under the belt, so that they're going into university with their eyes wide open with a unique CV. That's exactly what we tried to do. So it's amazing sort of now that we've got like a huge team. We employ a huge team of sort of industry professionals. So we have a marketing and recruitment team. We have a business development team. We have a teaching team that work within LLS, and we get to know our young people sort of 18 months before they even start with us. We're meeting students now at the end of sort of year 9, beginning of year 10, getting to know them, getting to know the parents and families. Then they're joining us at the end of year 11. And it's amazing really that we've got this really good sort of pipeline of young people who want to get a role in the sports industry. In the city that we all live in, Liverpool, obviously football is massive, it's huge, and we're big football fans ourselves, but we believe the multi-sports approach gives people wider options and wider opportunities. So on a typical LLS course, we'll have just as many amazing sort of gymnasts and golfers as we will tennis players, rugby players, and some footballers as well. Almost a year ago to the day, we did an amazing collaboration in the lockdown with the Steven Gerrard Academy. So now all of our sort of football students, male and female, we channel them through to the football side of things, which is over at Steven Gerrard Academy. The same sort of same qualifications are being delivered, but everything, the focus is on football, and LLS look after all those multi-sport students. So, I'm really passionate about seeing a young person come on our program, and young people in general, even yourself, Eva, the welcome I had from yourself before. I'm sure you've had a really good journey yourself. It's great to see young people's personalities come through. So we want to see their personalities come through, and that's what we try to develop at LLS. We're developing people's confidence, self-esteem. We're really sort of giving them that knowledge to get roles in the future, and it's great for us to sort of see how we succeed at LLS. I know I'm sort of jumping from bit to bit, but it's this applies in life as well. We give qualifications, but it's that experience that's so important. So we have young people, when we're doing CV writing, we want their CVs to jump off the page. We want them to be unique. We want it to say everything about them. And when they get experiences with us, and when I always tell people to do a little bit of voluntary work anyway, even if they've got a job, make sure you do a bit of voluntary work, whether it's for a charity or wherever. It's great to get those voluntary experiences under your belt, because when you're volunteering or getting work experience, you're developing your network as well. There's a network that you're developing all the time, and we constantly say to young people, and I say to everyone in general, you're a walk and talk and advertisement board for yourself. So you've got to develop those relationships. You've got to sort of definitely take people as you find them, but just be respectful. All the things that you sort of learn as you're growing up, they just stay with you right throughout. And we've got some amazing stories now of some of our full-time staff have been on courses with us when they've been in sixth form, a lot of them actually, and they've either come straight through working with LLS on an apprenticeship, or they've gone to university and we've kept in touch with them because they become part of our professional network, and now they're working back here. And we've got eight former students working with us full time across different programs at LLS at the moment. So it's really good that they develop the network and the sort of they develop that all the time. So going back to the map that I showed you before, the visual, we're working in sort of 16 big cities across the UK and Ireland and abroad. And what we try and do is we try and bring and connect our students together as many times as we can, because we've got a group of young people in Belfast, for example, on a multi-sports program, and we want to sort of make sure that they become friends with our students in Liverpool and our students in North Wales. And because when they go to America, for example, doing some coaching, they'll all meet up in New York, and what they've got in common is that they love coaching and they want to be a sports industry professional, but they've also got LLS in common. So I might have met a student and interviewed them in Wales, and I might have interviewed one in Liverpool, and I can connect them together, and then years and years down the line, there's friendships that are built there, and then they can connect all over the country. So it sounds simple, but we're making sure that students action it all the time. So it's an amazing job. We love what we do. We love what we do every day. We've got an amazing team. We're all really passionate about helping young people get jobs in sport. And like a typical day for us can look like, for myself personally, and Joe, who's obviously the co-founder and fellow director, we'll look after different parts of the organisation at this moment in time. I'm looking after lots of our sort of international students that are coming in and overseeing their journey into coming to move to Liverpool and studying with us. Look after the tourism elements of our organisation, which has had a tough time during COVID, but we have lots of our students coming and staying with us in Liverpool. In our HQ, we have accommodation available, so we'll bring students from all those different parts of the world that we're working in over to Liverpool and introduce them to some students that are here, again building those networks, putting their qualifications to the test, and giving them experiences that are priceless, really. What we love about our job every day is that every day is different, and we're always trying to sort of go the extra mile for our young people and our staff. Every one of our staff are unbelievably passionate. We've got an amazing culture. Everyone's got a really good, it sounds cheesy, but everyone's got an unbelievable can-do attitude, and they're really passionate about working with young people. So anytime a young person or their family or whoever it might be want to have a chat with us and take a bit of advice, we'll have that chat and we'll help push them on. And we're always sort of trying to make that difference if we can. So sometimes over the COVID period, it's been tough keeping people motivated because they've been on sports courses. A big part of what we do is we want young people to be active and sort of being in sports halls and gyms and things, and lots of them have been shut, but we didn't stop. Every single lesson has continued online, and we were innovative, and we sort of pivoted to online straight away. I think the whole country in lockdown 1 went into lockdown maybe on the Thursday, and by the Monday our lessons had started again, no problem at all, and we didn't miss any. So it's about motivating people and keeping in touch with them and connecting with them. And we can honestly say that when we look back on this COVID period in many years to come, and we're all talking about it when we're getting old, we feel like we've sort of really we've left no stone unturned for our young people, and we've been there for them, and we put everything in place that we possibly could to make it a better experience for them. So I'm just I'm keeping my eye on some of these questions, making sure I'm answering them all for you here. But yeah, we just feel like we try our best to make a difference every day. I mean, we come into work every day and we're developing young people to get jobs in the sports industry. So it's a competitive environment. It's a highly sort of, there's high energy around the place. All of our different schools and all of our different cities, we connect them together and we try and sort of get them competing against each other in a good way, a healthy way. And we just want them to strive on and kick on in life, really. When we sort of giving tips out to young people about when we set them up with employers, like I mentioned earlier, all the usual things matter. Like obviously, being punctual, having good manners, making the best of your appearance on the day, if you're going for an interview, etc. But it's about sort of, as well as promoting your sort of qualifications or your journey, it's about promoting yourself and really seeing those personalities. So as an employer, we literally get hundreds of applicants for one job, hundreds of them. We put all of our applications out, our job ads out, I should say, through like national adverts, and we'll get hundreds of CVs coming in. But we're looking through those CVs for things to jump out on the page. We're looking for voluntary work because it says things about people's character. We're looking for some charity work. We're not necessarily looking for, you know, the best possible grades and the best degrees. That helps, it definitely helps, and we promote that all the time. We want our students to go and do things that, you know, academically, and we want them to achieve as best as they can academically. But we're looking for experiences. We're looking for these different things that are going to show us about people's character. So we always talk about getting that down on the CV and really promoting it. Other things that we sort of advice that we give to our young people is just to sort of be honest, and don't sort of, if you're in an environment where you're in an interview, just be really honest about it. Don't try and sort of take yourself down a route where you're trying to answer questions that you don't fully understand. You've got to have a punt at answering those questions, but don't get yourself into hot water. We had an interview, a successful interview in a couple of months ago, and there was a brilliant question that the interviewee asked us at the end, and it's something that I've been telling everyone since. We'd asked all of our questions, but there was one question in particular that I'd asked that I didn't think that the candidates had answered to the best of their ability, and at the end, when we asked if there was any more questions, he actually said, and it's a good tip to remember, he actually said at the end, is there any answers that I've given today that would that you'd like me to answer again? So he gave himself that opportunity, and I thought to myself, wow, that's brilliant. And the second time round, without me giving him any sort of direction, he answered it 10 out of 10. It was a 10 out of 10 answer, and he got the job on the day. So they're just little tips and things. Just be yourself. You know, remember all of those different sorts of attributes around appearance, punctuality, etc. That should go with, you know, that should be there anyway. But really promote your own journey. So yeah, so basically there's sort of like tips and everyday life at LLS, and that's been our sort of journey. We wanted to be number one in the UK of delivering these sports industry programs, and we think that we've got to that level. We really sort of do as much as we can for our young people, and we want to give them an amazing journey. What we now promote all the time is learning exchanges. So we want our young people to go and spend the weekend, even if they're from Liverpool and we've got a course in Wales, go and spend the weekend there, or go and spend 5 or 6 days there. And we'll put these learning exchanges in place, whether it's students going from Liverpool to Tenerife to Wales to Ireland. Because if they go away somewhere for 2 or 3 days, or maybe Monday to Friday, and have a bit of a learning exchange, the more likely then in later life to go and travel for a bit longer. And these are like subliminal messages that we're giving them, subliminal experiences that are sort of setting them up for later life, to give them the confidence to go and really sort of stay somewhere and for a longer period of time. I went away when I was 20 for 3 months, and it was a big thing to do at the time. But if I'd have gone away for 5 days or 1 week or maybe 2 weeks previously, it would have set me up even better. So we're doing this all the time for our young people. We take them on all different excursions all the time, and we do lots of fundraising. So it's amazing for us to take young people with a 12-month lead in to somewhere like Madrid, for example. Some of these young people have never been on a plane before, and we'll take them to a different country, and they'll go and coach or teach in a school that's a Spanish-speaking school. And in the build-up to it, they'll learn some Spanish sentences, and they'll do some sort of sports activities using Spanish language. And it's just amazing to see. I've been on the trip with lots of our young people, and I've seen how they've grown as young adults, and the experiences that they have are phenomenal, really. And like I said before, over the sort of lockdown period in particular, we tried to get as many sort of industry professionals and employers on the Zooms as we could, just to give them that extra bit of motivation. Because we say this all the time, people who are physiotherapists at the top sports clubs, whether it's rugby, football, wherever that is, they didn't just get landed in a stadium in front of 50,000 people and said, "You're the physio today." They started by volunteering, they started by networking, they started by getting those qualifications that we deliver. So we're trying to bring this to the floor all the time. We had a really sort of popular, you can see it on the screen, Sky Sports commentator on doing a guest speaking slot. And he actually said, have you got any students that want to go down the commentary route? And we said, we have actually, and he ran an in-house competition for us. And now we've got 6 or 7 students from Yorkshire who are desperate to be sports commentators. And this guy's, Martin Tyler's now sort of mentoring them. And he's been in the game for a long time. So lots of these professionals want to help people. Lots of business people want to help people. It's about networking with these industry leaders and asking them for that advice and asking them for that help. You know, I got approached by Thrive to do a talk today, and I was delighted to say, yeah, obviously I would, because people have helped me on my journey, and it's great to meet people. I've met yourself, Eva, I've spoke to Richard, and I've spoke to Sarah as well, and it's great. It's really, really good. So, you know, we just want to make sure that at LLS and in everything that we do, we're just helping people and really helping them succeed in the future. Is there anything you want me to cover that I might have missed out on?
No, you're absolutely spot on with it all. I personally have a question though, if that's okay. So obviously, from starting as like 20-year-old lads like in Liverpool, like with a bit of a dream, like you always have like an aspiration and you always have like a bit of a goal. And I can probably say that you definitely accomplished your 20-year-old self's goal. And now obviously throughout the business, you've seen it progress, and you must be so proud that you've taken it like out of Liverpool. Never mind just like setting something up like that in Liverpool, but actually going outside Liverpool as well and going to different cities and countries. Like, it's massive. But would you say you've got like, you know, at different parts, like you kind of get like more of a goal and more like aspirate? Like, would you say what would be your next type of goal?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So to give you an example, we started in Liverpool, and then what you do is you think to yourself, where can we go next? Obviously outside of Liverpool, and we went over to the Wirral, or over the water, as you say. So we went over the water and we set up there. And then you look again and you think, okay, well, this is good, and the program here is good now, and it's settled. Where can you go next? So we went into sort of North Wales, and then all of a sudden you're into sort of a different country, if you like, even though it's only 50 minutes away. So the goal then was to say, right, let's look at Wales as a whole. How many centres do we think we should have here, so that everyone who wants to access an LLS course can get to one within 40 minutes of their house, really? So that's what we decided to do. And now we've got courses right the way down through to South Wales. So we've sort of covered that border. We did the same in Northern Ireland. So we started in Belfast, and it was quite different there. We didn't really have the 45-minute rule, but we looked at sort of 4 centres. Where can we sort of set up 4 centres here where sixth formers can access really good provision? So our goal was to sort of achieve that, and we have done. So moving forward now, what we want to do, we've got amazing centres right across the UK, and we're just sort of having even in COVID, we've grown sort of exceptionally because of the reputation that we've had. And the course experience that the young people have had. So we just want to sort of mature the areas that we're in for the next sort of 12 months and add some more international areas. It's amazing that you go all the way to Qatar, for example. We went over to Qatar the day we landed. Just to give you the little snippet, it was like, I think it was something ridiculous, like 39 degrees on the day. Oh, you're there ready to go. So, you land and you go into a school, and you go to a school and there's some students there, and you do an assembly and you're talking about opportunities in the sports industry. And would you believe that one of the first students on our first course in Qatar was actually from Liverpool, but he was living in Qatar because his mum and dad were working there at the local hospital. So we went all the way to Qatar, set up in Qatar, and one of our first students to sign up was from Liverpool. So it just shows you that. So it's been amazing working in different countries and taking the program to different countries and adding those sorts of experiences and the same principles and the same sort of blueprints in these different areas. And we've done the same in Spain, and now we're looking at some other areas that we want to move into. Obviously, with the pandemic, that slowed things down internationally, but at the same time, we're ready to go. We haven't stood still. So what we thought to ourselves was, during this period, how can we come back 10 times better than what we already were? How can we improve every aspect of what we do? And how can we come back and really sort of, sort of come back bigger and better? And the only way we've done that is by utilising our young, energetic minds of our young people. So our student voice is the most powerful thing that we've got. We've got, somewhere, we're going to have probably around about, probably near enough 1,000 students in September on full-time courses, up and down the country and in different countries. So their feedback is unbelievable. They're the ones who are on the experience. Their student voice is going to make us better. So a lot of the time, our development and our growth will come from the feedback that we get from our students. So that'll sort of tell us where our next goals are, really, as we start our next cycle. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey, and we just love there's nothing better than sort of, you've recruited a young person who wants to get a dream job in sport. I'll give you another example. I don't mind naming him. Young lad called Dan Barlow. I met him when he was in year 11 at a school in North Liverpool. He came down. I did an assembly in the school, and he came down to the front at the end, and he said to me, "My brother's told me I need to work in sport." He said, "My brother loves sport, my older brother, but he's worked in a factory forever, and he's got a great job in the factory, and he does quite like it, but he wishes he'd gone and worked in sport. That's what I want to do." So I said, okay. So he came on the program. He was on the program for 2 years, and I took a bit of a shine to him, really, because his attitude, he was focused, and he just really wanted to get a job in sport. So at the end of the 2 years with ourselves, he got an apprenticeship in a primary school, and that primary school had a brand new head teacher in it who had a really good reputation for improving schools. And I said, if you stay in this primary school as an apprentice for 2 years, you'll learn so much from this particular head teacher. So he was the apprentice sort of PE teacher in that school. And then he learned so much from that head teacher. And then a job come up in an international school in China, in Shanghai. And he applied for it because he'd sort of done 2 years with us. Sorry, before he started in that primary in Liverpool, he went to America for the full summer. So his CV was amazing. And then he did 2 years in this primary school. So he got the job in China, in Shanghai, in an international school in Shanghai. And I actually went out to see him twice whilst he was there, because we ended up working with that particular school because Dan had then come through our program, become part of our network, and then introduced us to the school he got a job in. So I went over and spoke to the head teacher, etc., and we were doing some work with them. But when I went over to see him, at this point, he was nearly 21 then, because he did 16 to 18, those 2 years in the primary, turning 21, and he was talking Chinese. He could speak Chinese. He could get about. He was in taxis and negotiating his way to different places. He was working every day. He was on an amazing salary, and he did 2 years there.
That's incredible.
And the only reason he came home was because of the pandemic. He came home just because all the British staff came home, and then he came home, and he's now on an online degree, but he's working full time on one of our programs as well as a full time coach with one of our elite squads. So he's a perfect example of someone that you meet who's grew up in Kirkdale, come down with a vision in his mind, impressed us every single day, done so well, and then he's gone abroad. And we've got so many of them examples. We've got them from far and wide, not just from Liverpool, but from Wales and Ireland and everywhere. So that's what we love about the job. I'll talk about it all day, probably over talk on this, but I love it. I love seeing young people's journeys and how we can help them and how we can really sort of set them up for the future.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, that is madness. But yeah, you must be so proud, I guess. Like, it's kind of like just watching your vision kind of come together and like looking at other people's like lives working well through what you've set up, basically. Like, it's amazing. So yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. You've spoke about amazing things, and I've definitely been enlightened, and I'm sure other people definitely will. But yeah, unless you've got anything else to say, that's all brilliant.
No, good stuff. It's been great speaking to everyone. I just wanted to speak more about our young people and our programs rather than me, to be honest. So yeah, it's good.
Oh no, thank you. Yeah, it was really enlightening.
we'll
Yeah.
always help you out if we can. So no problem. So thanks very much.